United States of America.
Brian here from We the People of Rhode Island. I'm at Burnside Park in Providence, Rhode Island at Occupy Providence movement. We're going to go check it out and see what people have to say. Come on down. Whatever the feeling you have about this movement, it is America at its greatest. Their freedom of speech, their First Amendment rights are being utilized right now. And this is what America's about. You know, this movement right here hasn't been seen since the 60s, something this magnitude. And a lot of people are just having fun, non-violent, drug-free atmosphere. And they just want to change. And they are literally popping tents up and staying put until changes are made within our government. It's based around corporate greed and things like that. But there's individual reasons why they all want some kind of difference, change. They want something to be better, everything to be better. They want America to be better. Whatever the reasons are, let's go find out why they believe Occupy Providence and what it means to them, what the war is about, and what the root of the problem is here in America. Stay tuned. We the People of Rhode Island.
All right, hi, I'm Sam, and obviously I'm at Occupy Providence. For me, it means the people taking the system back into their own hands and, like, basically telling the government, like, you screwed us over, we're going to fix it. And that's what Occupy Providence means to me.
What do you think about that?
Hi, my name is Keri and I'm at Occupy Providence because I'm looking for accountability within the corporate sphere, not necessarily only in the baking industry, but as far as environmental stewardship. This year we've had a number of environmental disasters, and none of those people have been held accountable for their actions. The money is one thing, but when it comes, money is also kind of, it's, temporary on the bigger scale of things, but some of the actions that have been caused are going to cause problems for our children and our children's children. So I think what my point of being here is to help raise awareness, to remind ourselves that there are really, really big things that have to do with money and have to do with corporate irresponsibility, but also have to do with like our environment and the air we breathe and the food we eat and the land that we live on. And we should, as Americans, set the example instead of being set the example for the right way to live instead of, unfortunately, the wrong way to live.
Hi, I'm Joe, and the Occupy movement means to me is getting together and solving the problems that exist in our world, and putting forth our efforts like we should have been doing for a long time, not just now, but to solve the problems in our country and the world, and help our community out, not through government, but as individuals helping our community. If my neighbor is in trouble, I'm going to help him, and I think that's what everyone else should be doing. And instead of relying on the government saying, look, my neighbor's sick, can you please help him? I'm going to go next door, knock on the door and be like, hey, you need some help? And I think that's what's happening at a lot of the Occupy locations around the world, is that these people are setting up these little communities, and we're helping each other as a community. And everyone here is my neighbor, so I'm helping them out. I'm sharing my goods with them. And we're getting things done without some bureaucracy telling us what to do. And we're here not just in protest against what's going on in our government, in our world, and some people like to call it greed, but we're also here to show example, and we're also here begging for our rights back, which is not going to go anywhere, but we're showing an example of what we could be doing outside of this park. I think we're doing a really good job of it here. I think everyone should just come down here. If you don't want to stay here, just come camp out, just meet some people. And if you decide to camp out, it'd be a great help. And put yourself forth and help out with cleanup, help out with food, help homeless get into a tent, build a tent, do something. Because we need to help our community out before bureaucracy decides that they're going to do it for us.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Bland. I'm in the park downtown Providence, and all these people are just wonderful. They have big hearts, and all they want is a chance. They are trying to open up that sea, the sea that Moses opened up, so everybody will understand them. They want peace and hope and happiness, jobs, the whole 9 yards. Please listen to them. Be good to them while they're here, because they mean well. They don't want to harm anyone. They don't, because they're God's people. And I love them, and I know you love them.
Well, my name's Everett, and the Occupy movement means to me personally, I don't speak for Occupy Providence, but for me personally, I'm very concerned about what corporate America has done to this planet. Now that they've tapped out Americans, they're going overseas. They have been going overseas, developing their factories and the workforce over there, and really they're raping the workforce there like they did here starting in the early industrial revolution. Unfortunately, many of the gains from that period or after that period have now been eroded and protected by our government as they continue with regulations that do protect the 1%, actually, the wealthy people in this country. The government has been really purchased. The Supreme Court has been purchased. Clarence Thomas is a perfect example with the junkets and things he accepted from corporate America. It's really not just an embarrassment, but it's immoral, really, what's happening. In the meantime, people are losing everything they have. Everybody knows about the foreclosures, etc. How is it that we went from a society just after World War II that was a fairly good living situation for middle-class America to having all our resources taken from us, which is the reason for my sign. They're stealing our life, and I believe that everybody should resist that effort. I have it printed on my check that injustice is stealing our lives, resist. And that's what Occupy America means to me. That's why I'm here, because I think it's important as an individual to make that statement. And I encourage everybody who can to get involved somehow, or at least come show support. America really needs to get itself back on track. Man, I hope it's not too late. We're so far to the right now that it's scary. And now that congressional approval isn't needed for wars, the president has the power to say, well, we'll assassinate this American or that American. Our civil liberties are eroded. You know, I love the sign that says, I will believe that corporations are people when Texas executes one. That says it all, too, I think. Corporations aren't people. That whole thing defies logic. And look at what is happening to this country as a result of privatization, corporate greed, unregulated expansionism. And that I'm just shocked that this could possibly happen. When I was in college, I knew from the study of demographics that I would be in competition with everybody else in my age group, the baby boomers. Never did I dream that the government and corporations would also take part in squashing my own life the way that they have.
Hi, my name is Brian, and the Occupy movement means to me and the people. I'm actually the coordinator for the Fall River group, the Occupy Fall River, and I'm up here to learn and to understand and help and exchange any way I can. And what it means to us is that there's been an enormous social injustice that's occurred in this country, that a small group of people have begun to monopolize and to take all the wealth away from all of us, and they've taken control of government and they use it in their own self-interest, and in the meantime all the rest of us suffer. The representatives, they don't represent us properly anymore, so this movement hopefully will someday join together in a national movement to return the government back into the hands of the people and take it out of the hands of the wealthy who just twist it and convolute it for their own greed.
Hi, my name is Mary Sokolowski. You could call me Dr. Mary Sokolowski because I actually have a PhD in the humanities and I can't get a job. Education funding was cut terribly cut starting with the Reagan administration. It has continued to be cut at all levels, and I can't get a job as a full-time professor. So I'm actually retraining, I'm studying. I'm going to be down here at Occupy studying to become a nurse. I am here because this movement represents something I've never quite seen before, which is a pretty radical form of democracy. That is to say, a lot of people in the media are saying, oh, the Occupy movement, it doesn't have an agenda, it doesn't have its sound bites. And initially, I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, oh, what kind of movement is that? It's no movement at all. And then I realized that is the very thing that brought me here, is the multiplicity of the agenda. Right? It's not that there's no agenda, it's that there are so many agendas. People are speaking their minds. There are public meetings every night to really hash this out and talk about it. And there is no end in, I don't think there's an end in sight. I don't know. I just moved in here. I've only been in once. I've only been down here once before. I don't know what's going to come of it. But as far as I'm concerned, if we can just get some of these issues about homelessness, about corporate greed, about the failure of the government to oversee what's going on with corporate America, if we can just get some of those issues out there and being talked about by policymakers, we will have succeeded as far as I'm concerned. And if we can do that in a peaceful manner, which I think is very much what this is about, all the better. I think if we just get that message and get people talking, we will have succeeded. For right now. And I don't know what's going to happen, and I actually am I'm more comfortable with that than I ever thought I would be. I've been an activist for 30 years. I'm 46 years old. I've been an activist since I was a teenager, and was writing papers and taking action against the military-supported, the U.S.-supported military in El Salvador. So I've been around doing this kind of stuff, but I've never seen anything like this. And I think it's awesome.
My name is Eric Klein. I live in Providence, Rhode Island. The Occupy Providence movement means to me a model of, to be honest, I really don't know what the Occupy Providence movement means to me.
I think it's ridiculous. My sister actually married into a military family, and her husband served 2 terms so far. And like seeing my sister go through the bullshit of like seeing her significant other having to go off to a war that basically is based on, like, I personally believe that it's based on greed and not made for the people, and like having to see like my baby sister having to like deal with the effects of war, which affects me and affects everyone around us, regardless if you have a loved one overseas or like whatnot. But it's just like the whole bullshit of like this war. It's putting us further into debt. Like that money could be used in so many different levels in helping the people. And the war currently, like with the trillions of dollars being spent on it, like that trillions of dollars could help fucking like provide better housing, get better jobs like here in the States, instead of shipping our men and women overseas for what? Oil, for greed, over what? Supposed destruction weapons? It's bullshit.
I don't know that war is necessarily inescapable, but I don't really care for our participation when it comes to things where we're trying to push our, which is obviously failed way of living, onto other cultures who may actually have a better way of doing it. At the very same time, not helping, other countries who have true genocide and genuine, like, inhumanity, and we just kind of let that go by the wayside when there's a country that has oil that we can kind of like suck out and make Cheerios, and $5 t-shirts. So I think it's I don't know that it's necessarily all like something you can, we have to take responsibility as consumers to, not contribute to that as well. And, our taxpayer dollars, we can't necessarily control where all of that goes, but we can control certain things right here and not contribute to that by buying the $5 t-shirt. Or, I mean, that's just one example. It could be, anything you want it to be that contributes. But war is held by what we buy into that system, whether we think we do or not. So to make really conscientious choices about how we spend our money and how we live our lives so that we don't contribute.
It's not just one war, it's multiple wars, and they're undeclared wars. And we have troops all over the world, we're in 150 countries, over 700 bases around the world. And it's just unsustainable to just send our troops every which way just because we think we're going to help these countries, but they're not our countries. And these problems are going to exist if we're there or not. And we're not those. This is our culture. This is our society. And if we just jump into someone else's with our ideas through basically a dictatorship of ideas and force a democracy, that's not a democracy, because we're forcing a democracy down onto other people instead of letting them vote for a democracy. And we're basically showing bad example of what the world should be like. And I like for all the troops to just come home, because they really are earning a lot of money and they could spend it here and fix the economy here. And I'm sure a lot of them have a lot of good skills that could be used here too to improve our society here.
Okay, the war, I feel about the war is, yes, the soldiers have to protect us, to keep us free here in the United States of America. But it's so sad that we have to go to war because we lose our loved ones and then our whole lives change forever. I want world peace. Me, as a Christian lady, I would love everybody to get down on their hands and knees and thank God for what we have, whatever it may be. I would love to see, like it was years ago, people helping one another, not putting each other down. That's the whole key to happiness. Love one another.
It's depleting the national treasury. This is what I believe. Go back to, well, you can go back further, but go to Rachel Corrie. She was killed by a bulldozer that was driven by one of the military over in the Gaza Strip. The corporation building those, Caterpillar, is getting wealthy off the war, like Halliburton and the others that are getting wealthy. They are being protected while they do it. The United States has become an imperial nation. What they're doing over there is not helping this country. You're depleting our treasury. They're stealing from the United States. They're taking the resources of this country out of the country, putting it in the pockets of a fewer number of people, and everybody else and the country is suffering as a result. It is a bad situation, and the direction we're going in, quite frankly, frightens me to death.
Okay, I feel the war is nothing but an empire. It's attempted to again, use an economic empire over the world, that this 1% is behind all the wars because they foment them. They foment them because they control the military contracts. They profit off the wars. And they use us as human chattel, as cattle just to be put out to slaughter. They don't care about us. So they provoke wars all over. They label people, they try and say they're the enemy, and they do anything unkind, and they do all the, I mean, in Venezuela, the only oil company that donates oil to the poor in this country are from Venezuela. This horrible season, I mean, this guy down here is supposed to be so horrible. All the other companies say let them die, let them die in the cold. But that horrible country that's so horrible because it's socialist, whatever it is, they actually donate to Joseph Kennedy, and they actually provide heat for people so they don't freeze to the winter. That's not our enemy.
Yeah, the unconstitutional wars. Well, it's. Yeah, I don't think there are I mean, I don't have enough adjectives, negative adjectives, to say what I think about the wars in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Iraq, and all over the world. We are fighting. And not to mention the wars that we're fighting against our own people here in this country by keeping people poor and keeping people disenfranchised. So there's wars on so many fronts, and they are all detrimental. Doesn't even begin to cover it. But the one thing I will, one specific detail that I will say is anecdotal. I grew up watching MASH. I don't know if anybody out there has seen MASH, but when the TV show MASH was on, the Army did everything for themselves. Now, I'm not necessarily pro-military, but the Army fed the Army, and the Army clothed the Army, and people in the United States made stuff to supply the Army. Again, I'm not saying I'm pro-military. Now, you contract that out to private corporations, and they are making huge sums of money while our soldiers are getting paid, next to nothing for risking their lives. It's really a mess, and it's changed. They get you to take your eye off the ball by saying, "Oh, warfare's changed. It's not like it was in World War II. It's not even like it was in Vietnam," and it's not. And the reason isn't because we're fighting a guerrilla warfare in an urban environment somewhere, or we're using unmanned drones to kill untold numbers of innocent people. The thing that's changed is that this is profiteering, pure and simple. It's just. And that's really, I'm a peacenik, so I don't believe in war at all. But that part I find particularly disturbing. And
about the war, the unjust wars, because I was going to comment on what Dr. Mary was saying. In terms, I think it's really important that people see the individual wars as part of the greater pattern of colonialism and imperialism. It's a pattern of contraction and expansion and contraction of nation states. It's been going on for thousands of years. Nation states grow, they take over other nation states, mostly violently, and then they crumble and fall. It was not fun when Rome was sacked. Constantinople did not have a good time when it fell. And it's amazing to me that America is expecting its own imperialist streak to go on in ways that are historically completely unprecedented. Empires do not continue forever. That being said, we need to look at the imperialist agenda that we're perpetrating, especially in the Middle East and beyond, as part of a greater, very well thought out plan of global domination. These are very smart people putting a hell of a lot of time and money and resources into a plan to rule the world. I'd encourage everybody, if you have not, to read Zygmunt Brzezinski's The Grand Chessboard. The subtitle is American Primacy and Its Geostrategic Imperatives. It was written back in the 80s. He was Carter's Secretary of State. He spelled out the wars that are being perpetrated now in the Middle East. Read it. It's been written down. It's been planned out. And to look at these incidents as isolated or flukes of history is to completely miss the greater agenda that's going on.
Yeah, my name's Mike Dias. I'm from Bristol, but I live in Providence. And the whole Occupy movement, like I see so many people here right now, and like they're here to see what's going on, but it's really turned into one of those things. Like there are those groups of people that are here because it's the thing to do, and that's not a real good thing to do. It's one of those fucking issues. Those are people that are causing an issue, doing what's the thing to do. Personally, I was joking with friends earlier that the whole 2012 like transition or end of the world is going to be a transition from what our society is now to something else. There's going to be shit going on, stuff like that. And think about it. That's a year from pretty much almost today, a year and a couple of months from today. And that's long enough time to really just stop and be like, you know what, we really have had enough. This needs to stop. We need to transition into something that works. And if it doesn't work, we're going to work for ourselves. And that's pretty much it. Like, and another joke I said was that it's a possible reaction to, think of it this way. I'm a firm believer in karma, and the whole 2012 prophecy, I think that's really just karma for, if this whole society transitions into something that it's never been, that could be karma for what the Europeans and the Spaniards did to the Native Americans and the Aztec and the Inca. It's a deviation from what European culture has turned into, because technically we're just the spawn of European culture. It's like the Tea Party. The Tea Party originally didn't want to be taxed by anyone but elected officials. Now they just don't want to be taxed in general, which is fucking bullshit. But in a way, it is progress, but it's bullshit progress. And that's really what it is to me. Is this shit needs to change. That's it.
The root of the problem is corruption. I mean, like we base our democracy off of the ancient Greeks and Romans. Like that's how we got our democracy. But yet history shows like democracy failed the Greeks and it failed the Romans, and it's clearly at this moment failing us. Like it's going to be a while before things like level out and shit. But it's just like everything like. Ugh. But like with everything like that's going on and shit, like things are going to get worked out, and like it's going to be back in the people's hand eventually. It's going to be a long process, but it's clearly showing that the Greeks failed, the Romans failed, and our government's going to fail.
Oh, clearly greed, and clearly not only just greed, but like an absolute what's the word when you're just completely unaware, like completely clueless about how things work, you know, like you could just so little awareness, I think, is what the root of our problem. And in that comes all those other things. Comes greed, comes sloth, gluttony. What are the other ones? Apathy. Oh, which is it's all for the self and none for the soul. There's so much that can be done, and we can all do it if we just step out for a minute and take a look and pay attention to what's going on. And I realize all this can be taken by somebody and say, oh, this is all very vague. But it has to be vague in order to be applied to each person's experience, So I could be very specific about what's important for me specifically, but what's important for me is not going to be the same that's important for you or for this guy over here. We all have our different experiences we have to deal with. So if we could just learn to be a little bit more aware of the chain reaction of our actions, then we might reconsider some of the actions that we promote. And that includes war. That includes supporting the oil industry in every faction of our lives. That includes, us being glued to televisions and the internet and not reading books or not paying attention to what's going on or not contributing in a volunteer basis just because nobody's going to give you any money for that. There's a different kind of wealth that can be accessed if people put their time and energy towards it.
The root of the problem is the corporate elites. The corporate elites think they can control us, and that they think that we can't handle ourselves, and they think they can do better for us. They think they can take our money and decide what our money is good for. But what I think is, I earn my money, and the abundance of money that I have, the extra that I have, I'm going to help out my community. Instead of it going to a middle party, a middleman, and taking a little bit of it and then handing out whatever's left over, isn't very efficient. So I think our government should be in place just to protect our rights. Through court systems and then us as people through juries to decide people's fates, to decide unanimously to see if they are guilty or not guilty. And if we stray from that and we allow the government to make those decisions, we're gonna be in a shithole. It's gonna be one guy at the top deciding everyone's fate.
The root problem here in America is greed, mistrust, don't care, stony hearts. All they care is for the rich. Unfortunately, I am poor, and they don't help the poor. They make it worse and worse for us. And I would love God to hear our prayer. I would love the president to hear our prayer, and all the politicians there. Sometimes I say, oh, they say this, they say that. They do nothing when they get elected. Why bother? People are getting sick and tired of this hogwash. They are, and so am I. We're tired.
What is the root of the problem here in America? Oh, my God. Well, I'm not sure which problem you're asking me about, but when I look around and I see the cacophony of problems here, I firmly believe, look, the Americans right now, there's a mental health situation in this country as a result of what's going on. This country is really has a mental health problem. People are under so much stress. What is the root? Frankly, I don't mean to sound, I don't know what, but I believe corporations and the protection of their concerns, privatization, is really what's causing all this trouble. There's no question about it. Our individual resources, our country's resources are being raped by corporations. Right now, that is the problem.
Okay, the root of the problem is the convolution of the capitalist system. In the early days when Adam Smith and they all talked about it, they looked at small business and they said the open market, because as long as you have all enormous amounts of material availability, as long as you have enormous opportunity, then it's a wonderful place and democracy works. But if anybody starts pulling it all together, monopolizing, and you know about the monopoly movements in this country, where they have to break up Standard Oil and they have to break up the trains, Well, it's happened again. Now there's what's called an oligarchy. 1% of the people control 62%, just an enormous disproportionate amount of the wealth. And this thing, greed, enough. There's no such word as enough for them. More. I mean, when you got $20 billion, why do you need more? Why do you have to put people out of work? And why do you have to, make people die in the streets? Why do you take away their medical care? Why do you take the senior citizens' future? Why do you take veterans who laid down their lives and put them out in the street and not care about them? So ask yourself, why? Why is this happening in America?
Cool. Thank you so much.
I think the root of the problem, actually, I'm going to get deep here. I think the root of the problem is a spiritual problem. I think there's a spiritual malaise. And I say that in an ecumenical sense. I'm not here representing any particular religious or spiritual view, but I think that we have lost a sense of the spiritual, a loss of a sense of why we are here, what is our purpose, what is our greater sense of purpose and being here on the planet. And we have filled that in the United States with, consumerism. It's, basic psych 101. You have a need to fill, and you fill it with buying stuff instead of searching for, asking questions about what it really means to be a human being on the planet. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the fundamental root of the problem.
I really would second what Dr. Mary said in terms of people's, the accent on consumerism has replaced any sense of community or any sense of self within people. That people are so detached from the feedback cycle of how their lives are supported. If a farmer is too lazy to plow, he or she dies. And in this modern world of information economy, we're so detached from what it means to actually support ourselves as human beings, as individuals, either physically, nutrient-wise, spiritually. We're also detached from what it means to be community with each other, because so many of our normal, natural human interactions that have been in existence since our species has been there have been supplanted by economic interactions with each other. Strip clubs, great example. Hello. We have sex with each other. That's what we as humans do. And to commodify that relationship is disgusting. We feed each other. We eat food. And I'm getting off track here. But yeah, I think it's the estrangement from our own goals and needs as human beings. And that estrangement has been created by a superstructure that stands to profit if they can channel the fulfillment of our needs through their own production and commodification and buying. Because we're at worker alienation. I mean, it's all this is all Marxist philosophy. Because we are not intimately involved in what it takes to survive as individuals and as a community. We feel a need in our lives. We feel that something's lacking. We feel empty. And the malls and consumerism are right there to offer us some temporary, ineffective fix through purchasing stuff.
Hi, my name is Laurel Casey, and I've been asked what the Occupy movement means to me here in Providence. And I'll tell you what it means to me. It means to me being part of the top 1%. I want people to know that I am not the enemy. Just because I have a lot of money through a trust fund and marrying money and hoarding that money, that doesn't mean that I don't care about the little people. I'm here to help. That's why I've got my tent set up here. I'd like to do everything I can to help the people help themselves. But I really don't believe that I'm part of the problem. I think you're looking in the wrong direction. I think you need to look at actually people who don't have any money at all. I think those are the people that are truly the enemy. Money is not the enemy. Wealthy people like myself are not the enemy. You are your own enemy. So pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get a job and snap out of this craziness. Do you understand me? I've had enough of it. I have a cocktail appointment with, some of my girlfriends and a bridge game at about 7:30. I have to go home and get my nails done. I don't have time for this craziness. Now, if you people insist on getting out here and marching without true facts, without really making any effort to really know the truth behind the movement, besides the drumming that is driving me crazy, I really don't have any sympathy for you. If you'd really like to make a difference, I suggest you do your research and you run for office. And then you sleep with whoever you can to get as much money as you can together and work within the system. Now, I'm sorry to sound so severe, but the truth hurts. Now, I have to get to my, bridge game now, and then there's a little bit of a fundraiser I'm doing for poor people. And then I will be back. Maybe I won't be back. I have a hair appointment at 9 o'clock. Thank you so much, and snap out of it, as I said, and goodbye, and I'm signing off now.
This concludes this program broadcast. We the People, a freedom of speech television show. Go to www.wethepeopleofri.org.